Hey, welcome to the series of everything you need to know about Python in simplest possible way. In the series of pattern printing, so far we have seen so many patterns. In this video, we will see how we can actually print this particular pattern. So if you could carefully observe this pattern, we have this particular one which is coming in this direction and going in this direction. We have some kind of a shape here. Later, these values are keeps increasing and having the similar shape and following the same shape and ended up at this value which is 5, which is the highest value in here. Like that, this pattern having this kind of a shape. So let us go ahead and see how we can actually print this particular pattern. So in order to print this particular pattern, as we have observed, we have 5 rows: row 1, row 2, row 3, row 4, row 5. So to keep track of that rows, I will use a variable rows and assign with 5. So later, as we can observe, apart from these numbers, we are also having these spaces. So we need to print these spaces to get the exact pattern. So in order to keep track of these spaces, I will use a variable spaces and I will assign the value with 0. Because in the first row, if you could observe carefully, we don't have any spaces before these numbers. So for that reason, I am mentioning spaces as 0. Later, what we will be doing is that to generate this many number of rows, I will use a for loop for I in range. So now we need to generate a range of values. And the question is, what are the range of values we need to generate here? So we need to generate the range of values in such a way that by using those values, we need to print and get all of these values. So having that in mind, we need to generate these particular values which are in center here. So which are 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So if we could able to generate these values, we can actually generate all of these values. So how? Let us see. So first, for the time being, let us generate these particular middle values. So for that, what I will be doing is that I will start with rows, which is the exact value that we are having 5 here, right? After that, we are starting at 5 and we need to go till the value 1. So for that reason, I will be mentioning 0. So by the functionality of this range, we will be stopped at the value 1. So if you don't know about how this range function works, watch out my video about range function so that you can able to understand it clearly. So at each step, we need to decrease the value 1 because we are reducing these values, right? So by 1. So for that reason, I am mentioning -1. So in this for loop, what I will be doing is that in order to know what values we are having in I will just print the value I. So we can observe we have got the exact values. That is what we are expecting in middle here, right? So now we have got these middle values. So now what we will be doing is that we could able to observe this left pattern which is here and this right pattern which is in here having the symmetric shape, right? So for that, what we will be doing is that first we will be printing this particular pattern from here till here, and later we will print the pattern from here till here. So by combining both of these patterns, we will get the whole pattern. So let us go ahead and see how we can actually print this particular pattern which is on the left side here. So in order to generate that pattern, we need to observe some logic here. So if you could able to observe in every single row starting from here till this particular column which is here, we can able to observe that in every single row we are starting with value 1 and going till the value I, which we are having here, right? So in first row, we are starting with 1 and going till the value I, which is having 5. So in the second row, we are starting with 1 and going till the value 4, which is the value I. The third row, we are starting with 1 and going till the value 3, which is the value of I. So like that, in every single row, we are starting with value 1 and going till the value I. So these are repeating, right? So in every single row, these are repeating. So for that, when we have repeated statement, we generally use loops, right? So that is what we will be doing now. We will use loop here. So for that, inside of this for loop, I will be using one more for loop for j in range. So now we need to generate those range of values. And the range of values that what we have discussed, we need to start with 1 and go till the value I. So for that, I am mentioning start as 1 and we need to mention the end as I plus 1. So by the functionality of this range, we will be stopped at the value I. So in this for loop, I will print the value j instead of I here. So if we can see carefully here, we have got the exact value 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and 1. So these are the exact values that we are having in this left side pattern. So now we have got the values, and the only thing we need to do now is that we need to arrange those values so that we can able to get the exact pattern. So in order to arrange those values, here I will be mentioning end with a single space. So by default, this print function having this end parameter as new line character, because of that reason, we are getting everything in a new line. So by mentioning this end as single space, we will get everything in the single line. So after that, what we will be doing now is that if we can able to observe clearly, after once this value got reached till the value I, we are getting in new line, right? So these values are got reached to value 5 and we are getting new line. So for the time being, we forget this particular pattern and only focus on this left side pattern. After the values reaches to the value I, we are getting new line. So for that reason, after completion of this inner for loop, this inner for loop is responsible to reach the value till I. So after we reach the value I will be printing nothing, so that by the function by the parameter of end default value, which is new line, we will be getting a new line. So now if I execute this, we can able to get this kind of a pattern. We are getting everything new line, which are exactly what we wanted. So now what we will be doing is that we don't get the exact pattern so far, because we didn't print the values of spaces, right? So in order to print those spaces, what we need to do is that we need to print these spaces before these particular values. So for that reason, what I will be doing is that as and when we enter into this outer for loop, I will print those spaces. So I am mentioning space and I am multiplying this with the spaces variable, and I am mentioning this end as nothing. By default, end is having new line character. We don't want any new line character, we don't want anything at the end. So for that reason, I am mentioning nothing. So after this, if we could able to observe clearly, we are increasing these spaces every single new row. So for that reason, I will be modifying these spaces after this inner for loop. These spaces plus equal to 2. We are increasing these spaces by 2 in every single new row. So now if I execute this, we can able to get the exact pattern which is here. So you can compare this right left side pattern with this particular pattern. We have got the exact values. So now the thing we need to do is that we need to generate this particular right side pattern. So before that, if you understood so far, if you are enjoying this video so far, hit the like button and subscribe for more. So now we will just go ahead and see how we can print this particular right pattern. So in order to print this particular right side pattern, we will be following the similar process what we have followed to generate this left side pattern. Right? So let us go ahead and see that. So if we could able to observe this clearly, we will be starting from here and going till the value once. So in every single row, we are starting with the value I minus 1 and going till the value of 1. So in the first row, we are starting with 4, which is the value of I minus 1 and reaching till the value 1. The second row, we are starting with 3, which is the value of I minus 1 and reaching to the value 1. So in this way, in every single row, we are starting with I minus 1, reaching till the value 1. So these are repeating, and when we have repeated statements, we use loops. So that is what I will be doing now. This for loop, I will be using one more for loop for k in range. So now we will be generating those range of values which are starting with I minus 1 and reaching till the value of 1. So for that I am mentioning 0 and I am mentioning minus 1 to reduce those values. So in this for loop, I will just print the value k to know what values we are having. So you can observe it clearly. We have got 4, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, 2, 1, and 1. So these are the exact values that we can see in this right side pattern. So now we have got all the values. The only thing we need to do now is that we need to arrange those values so that we will get the exact pattern. So for that, I will use an end here and I will mention this end with a single space. So by mentioning this, we will get everything in a single line. After that, as and when this k values reaches to the value of 1, I need to print a new line. So for that, I am printing a new line. So now, if we execute this, we won't get the exact pattern. Don't worry, we will fix it. So we can see we were getting this kind of a pattern. The reason is because after once we reach till the value here, we are printing a new line by using this print. After once we reach till here, we are printing a new line by this. So by printing this, we are not allowing this to having to beside of these particular values. So in order to come these values, the right side of these values, we need to remove this print so that we can able to get the exact pattern that what we wanted. So now if I execute this, we can able to get the exact pattern that is what we have expected. So you can observe we have 5 in middle and these values are decreasing in this way. So we have got the exact pattern. So I hope you can able to understand this logic to generate this pattern. If not, if you found any difficulty while understanding this, I sincerely suggest you to watch the video once again carefully so that you can able to understand clearly. So now let us go ahead and see how we can actually take dynamically input from the user and print accordingly. So I am using in method, I am asking user to enter rows here. So now if I execute this, so it was asking me to enter rows. Let's say I am give the value 5 here. This is what we have given previously. We can able to get pattern. So let's say I am giving another number. Let's say I am giving 7 here. So still we can able to get this pattern. I am giving one more number 8 here. We can able to see starting with 8 and the values are keeps reducing and the whole pattern is. So now I hope you can able to understand this logic to generate this kind of a pattern by any number given by the user. So if you found video interesting, hit the like button. In the next video, we will see how we can actually print this whole pattern. So in this whole pattern, the highest number is here and the values are keep reducing and reaches to the value 1 and this is having in the shape of a diamond. We will see how we can actually print this in the next video. So to stay updated, subscribe to my channel and turn on the notifications to all so that whenever I upload any video, you will get the notification. So thank you for watching this video. See you in the next one.